Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you this morning with a Sunday Reads video and wanted to talk to you about how my week has been going and what's going on in life and what have I finished reading, what am I currently reading, and then what is on the radar coming up next. So as I told you in previous videos, we went on vacation, not last week, but the week before. We got back last Tuesday, but we went on vacation to Texas and had a good time with family down there and got plenty of sunshine and warmth and got to swim in the Gulf and all kinds of fun stuff. We are probably our most interesting thing that happened was while we were down there, the last day that we were, no, second to last day that we were down there, they had a warning up for look out for wildlife, stuff in the ocean. And sure enough, there were jellyfish all over the place. And we were there on a beautiful evening for being at the beach. And you look up and down the shore, and there's only like 3 families out there. And the other 2 families were not really in the water. They were right on the very, very edge. And here we are, all our brain power from Iowa. We'll be fine. We're out in the water, right? And sure enough, started feeling like stickers and it's almost like a stinging sensation all over our legs and stuff. And my wife and I and my little girl started getting the jellyfish started doing their thing. And then we all came out and my daughter went back out into the water and she wasn't very far out there. And sure enough, she ends up with a jellyfish on her arm and she's got marks from that jellyfish all the way across her hand. She had it up on her arm. When it fell off of her hand, it fell down on her leg, and she ended up with marks all up and down her leg. I had minor marks, but she had like stuff that's still there over a week later, and or be about a week later now. But so we learned what it was like to get stung by a jellyfish. That was interesting. And then, of course, then we get home and we're watching the news, and right about the area that we're in, I don't want to say it too loud because my daughter's over that way, but they've got shark attacks going on, like, what was it, 2 days after we were there, right in the same area we were swimming. And that was kind of an eye-opener, When they put up the flags, pay attention, folks, pay attention. So anyway, that was our last week. And then of course we get back home and the grass had taken off. And I mean, I was mowing grass that was like this high. That was not fun. On the next day we got back on Tuesday. So Wednesday when I was mowing, and then I had to rake it all, and that was not very fun. But anyway, we've just been cleaning house and stuff, and had some family dinners for the 4th, and happy 4th of July, by the way, if I missed you in previous videos. So lots of interesting stuff going on, but everything's low key. It's the month of July, it's vacation time, and then of course halfway through next month we'll be gearing up for school again, and I'll be busy again. So trying to get videos out for you this month, try to get plenty of them out here while I've got time and while it's quiet in the house. So what have I finished over the last couple of weeks? So this will go back to, I'm going to take this back to 2.5 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. This was the middle of June. I finished Louis L'Amour for June on the Range. I finished Utah Blaine. Absolutely love this book. I thought this was really good. It's about a cattle rancher out in New Mexico who's getting driven off his land by all the ranchers, all the bad guys that are all around him trying to take his land, and he hires, or they try to hang the guy. That's right at the very beginning of the story, so really no spoiler there because it's right at the beginning of the story. But then he hires Utah Blaine, who he shows up on the scene and saves him, and he hires him to go run his ranch for him. And so the whole story is about Utah Blaine, running the ranch and then cleaning up all of the bad guys. And I enjoyed this one. And I think you will too. It's a pretty fast read. But that was one of my couple books I did for June on the Range. Probably didn't do as many as I wanted to. I have a whole bunch of them I bought, but life happens. So Plus, I saw a bunch of other stuff I wanted to get involved in on BookTube. And so, yeah, one of my personal projects that I've been doing is I've been trying to go back and read classics, just whether it's kids' books, adult books, doesn't matter. And I've been trying to read through the classics, to balance out my reading, just so I can at least say I have read that, because I don't want to miss out on stuff that people are talking about that they love. And so I got a couple of kids' classics finished during June. One of them was Pinocchio. Please excuse the writing on the book. I've had this book since I was a wee little lad, and when I was in foster homes, they would always mark my little brothers with a J for Jason and a B for Billy. And so my stuff that got to travel with me always had a B on it, so they'd know it was mine, and I'd get to take it with me. But anyway, had this book forever, since I was 7, 8 years old, and I finally read it and thoroughly enjoyed that. I didn't know if I'd like it, because they're little kid classics, but I actually really liked Pinocchio. I thought that was really good. It's probably one that I'm going to read with my daughter sometime in the near future. Another kids classic that I had read was Peter Pan. And of course, I've read abridged versions, and I've watched the cartoons, the new one, the old one, the movie. I've watched all that stuff, but I'd never actually read the book, and so I knocked Peter Pan off the list, and I did enjoy that. I enjoyed that. Probably not as much as I enjoyed Pinocchio, but I did enjoy Peter Pan. Another classic, and this is an adult classic that I picked up, for those of you that like detective novels, most of you will be familiar with this, and I had honestly, I don't know that it ever hit my radar until I think it was Sean D. Standfast, I think, that I heard talking about the Maltese Falcon. I think it was him. Or it might have been Mark over at Book Time with Elvis. But I think it was Sean D. Standfast, and I could be wrong. But anyway, I remembered somebody on BookTube talking about the Maltese Falcon, and for whatever reason, not only did I hear it once, but then I heard it on several different channels. But I think they did a reading event for detective fiction, didn't they? Maybe that's where I heard it. But anyway, I read that. I love that book. That was good. It's one that I'm going to return to, and I will read that again. I really enjoyed this. It's detective fiction of the old school, and I like that kind of stuff. I read. Right now we are doing a reading event. It's kind of gotten quiet a little bit, but I read for Summer of Sport. I read The Young Pitcher by Zane Grey. And of course, most people know Zane Grey for his Westerns that he's done. He's very prolific in the Western genre. But early on in his career, when he was learning to be a writer, he did a couple of baseball novels. And the Pitcher is one, or The Young Pitcher is one, and then he's got one called The Shortstop. I do not have The Shortstop. It's on my list of books to find. But yeah, I enjoyed this. It's some of it's believable, some of it's not believable. To a young person, they'll never know the difference, but to an adult, you should be able to pick up on, things don't usually happen that way. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. About a young guy who goes to college, and in the old school days, they played sophomore through senior on the sports teams, and freshmen didn't make the team, and it deals with a subject that we have in today's sports, money in sports. Should we be paying young athletes that are in college? That question's been around forever. And this is like discussing that early part of it. And basically they make a ruling, and the entire team had played in a semi-professional manner and gotten paid. And so the whole team gets kicked off, and they have to do a call for people to come join the team. And this main character, Ken Ward, is one of them that goes. He had already made his acquaintance with the coach, and the coach liked him already, so he had kind of a leg up on everybody. But then he turns out to be a really good pitcher. He thought he was a third baseman, thought he was an outfielder. Yeah, pitching ended up being his thing. And so anyway, long story short, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was good, and that went with my Summer of Sport. That was my June read. And I read for Historathon 2024, my June read was 1066, The Year of Conquest, and The Year of the Conquest by David Horth. And I was real excited to get this one done because you have no idea how long this has been on my TBR. You know our yearly TBRs that we do? This one's been on since, I don't know that I had it in 2020. I think it was on my 2021 year-end TBR list that I did at the very beginning of the year, and it's been on actually a couple of my TBR lists along the way, and I finally got it knocked out so I can go on my personal TBR elimination challenge that I have going for myself nonstop as I read different books. I can now check that one off the list. And 1066. So it's basically the story of William the Conqueror and him taking over England towards the end of the year when the Battle of Hastings comes. And of course, you had Edward the Confessor dies. There's no heir to the throne, and we have three different kings that come up, or not kings, excuse me, two kings and a. Okay, let me start over. You have Harold Hardrada. He's the Viking king. You got Harold from England, who is the king's helper. His family's in with the king. He's up for taking the throne. And then you got William of Normandy, the Duke of Normandy, and they all three have a claim to the throne, basically, and a major claim. And so they're throughout the year they're politicking back and forth, trying to get the throne. And then of course we have a couple major battles towards the end of the year, and William the Conqueror comes out on top. Spoiler alert. But I thought this was really good. I enjoyed it. It was very easy to read and understand, and it's actually a pretty complicated thing when you start looking at the whole network of who's who and who their connections are and how they have claims to the throne and whose family's connected to what other family. It's a complicated story that he kind of simplifies, and I enjoyed it. Highly recommend it if you're looking for something for second quarter for Historathon next year. Pick this one up. It's a real fast read, real good one. Then when I was on vacation, I bet 6 different books, and I didn't read any of them except this one. Because I couldn't concentrate for whatever reason. I didn't do any serious reading. I had found for free Tim Allen, the comedian, Don't Stand Too Close to a Naked Man. And this is a funny book. It's adult humor. I wouldn't recommend having your little kids read it, but it's probably not very politically correct in a lot of ways, but it made me laugh out loud, literally out loud the whole time. I probably annoyed my wife while I was sitting there reading it, but I couldn't stop myself. And of course, most of you know him, if you're my age, from Home Improvement in the 1990s, his TV show, and a lot of that same type of humor. And then Last Man Standing is his recent comedy show that he was in. I don't know if that one's still going or not. I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But anyway, I enjoyed both of them. I like his style of humor, and so read that one in a couple of days. It was real easy, and I would recommend it. It's funny for those people that have thick skin. It's funny. And then the serious one that I did read that I've been reading, like I picked it up back in February, and then I'd put it down, and then I'd pick it up and read a chapter or two and then put it down. And I did not put it down because it was bad. It was a good book. Highly, highly recommend this. Half American, the heroic story of African Americans fighting World War II at home and abroad, by Matthew Delmont. Highly recommend this book, and it's all about the race issues during World War II, and African Americans trying to serve their country, fighting the civil rights battle, or the beginning stages of the official civil rights movement. those beginning stages, and it covers a whole multitude of different important players that were involved in this, from journalists to politicians to just different, during the war itself, different African Americans who, put themselves in the spotlight through their heroism. Very, very impressive. What is the guy's name from Pearl Harbor? Miller, is that right? Doris, does it have it in here? Maybe it's got it on the back. Of course it doesn't. Doris Miller, does that sound right? Without me looking it up, I guess I could look in the index. But anyway, it talks about all the, the major contributors during the war. And it talks about, Doris Miller. I was right. Talks about Doris Miller. It talks about W.E.B. Du Bois. It talks about just a whole multitude of people. And what African Americans did during the war effort, they get overlooked, and they shouldn't, because they definitely had a huge part in winning the war effort during World War II. It's a phenomenal book. Can't speak enough to it. If you're a teacher out there that does stuff with the civil rights or with World War II and you want to include some more civil rights stuff, highly recommend it. And this was actually sent to me for free by the Howard Zinn Foundation. Is that the official name of it? But anyway, Howard Zinn, who has since passed, but he's got a whole organization that he does his storytelling from the bottom up, not from the top down. So not like if you're talking about warfare, it's not from the general's point of view, it's from the private's point of view. It's from the the people who are not officers. If you're talking in general histories, it's not from the president's point of view, it's from the poor people, the everyday people, the middle class people. And I enjoy looking at that from that perspective, and that's the organization that sent this to me for free. So I thank you to Howard Zinn and the foundation. All right, so those are the books that I finished over the last couple of weeks. And the next stack of books here, and I'll go a little bit faster so this thing doesn't last forever, but these are the ones I'm working on right now, and they are in no particular order. I've got them, actually they're by size in my lap here. But anyway, I'm going to make a more of an effort to get this book done, because it was a first quarter Historathon 2024 book, Rubicon, and I had put it down and I picked it back up this morning, and I'm going to try to read a chapter a day and get it knocked out this month. But Rubicon in the Last Years of the Roman Republic by Tom Holland. Tom Holland's a great author, easy to understand, easy to follow, and it's about exactly what the subtitle says, The Last Years of the Roman Republic. And so I just finished chapter 4 this morning, and so I hope to try to get a chapter a day on that and get it knocked out. The next one is also from Historathon 2024, but it was also last year we did a World War I readathon, or read-along, or readathon. What was our event called? Anyway, it was in November in honor of the war. And we were reading fiction and nonfiction World War I stuff, and then we were sharing back and forth, and we did we had Voxer going, but we did some videos with everybody in it, Zoom stuff, and we'd put those up online. But anyway, one of the books that I was reading for that last year was A World Undone, The Story of the Great War, 1914 to 1918, by G.J. Meyer. This is a book that was on my 2020 TBR for the year. That's how long I've had it on here. I'm pretty sure it was. Maybe it was 2021. But anyway, it's been on my TBR list forever. And it is an absolutely fabulous book. If you are somebody who wants to study World War I, highly, highly recommend it. It is extremely detailed. I just finished the part about the Battle of Gallipoli, and or getting ready for the Battle of Gallipoli, rather, trying to make some inroads on the southern side of Europe to help supply Russia. And it also talked about, this last chapter that I read this morning was talking about the arms buildup in the Navy with the dreadnoughts, and how Germany and Britain were going back and forth trying to outdo one another. And that's a part I was just reading. But anyway, this is an awesome book. Highly recommend it. I'm going to try, like I said, a chapter a day. I'm going to try and knock it out this month. That is on my list of things to do, and then I can check it off my TBR elimination challenge. I can check it off the TBRs that I had it on. The next one is a read along, or a buddy read, that I'm doing with Peg over at the History Shelf and my good friend Brian at Brian MR. And this was a D-Day 80th anniversary celebration of these soldiers who bravely fought during the invasion of Normandy. And Peg and I were going to do that, and then we opened it up, and Brian joined us. And so we're reading Stephen Ambrose's D-Day, June 6, 1944, the climatic battle of World War II. This thing is phenomenal. I just got done with chapter 20 this morning, and should be done within the next 2 weeks. And it was going through the individual soldiers' experiences as they came to the shore, up on the beach, trying to make it to the shingle, they called it. It was focusing on Omaha Beach this morning in the readings, and it is absolutely phenomenal. I did find yesterday a big issue with my book, though. BookTube, I want you to look at this. I sent a message to Peg and Brian, and I was telling them about my problem. But if you look at this book, it's got tight binding. There's not like a section missing, but if you look at my book, do you see anything wrong here? Look at the pages, 480 and then 513. There's like 2 whole chapters, or almost whole chapters, missing from the book. And that's very frustrating on my copy. I don't know what happened there. Of course, I didn't notice it when I went to buy it. I would have never bought it if I'd have... Anyway, but highly recommend this book. I think it's really, really good. I'm struggling to take notes in it just because it's reading very fast and it's doing from them soldiers' point of views. And so I'm struggling to take notes because it's just, I'm totally engrossed in the reading. And so I got to make a chat on this a little bit later today. I got to send my Voxer message to the 2 of them, but highly enjoying that. Highly recommend that book. I also have gotten, over the last few days, in my James Michener project that I've got going. I've talked with many of you about Michener. A lot of you like Michener's work, but Michener's work are huge. They're 800 to 1,000 pages, and almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of them are 800 to 1,000 pages. Well, I made it a mission of mine. I've had them sitting on my shelf forever, since I started collecting books 25 years ago. And I need to get them read. There's no use of having them sit there if I'm not going to read them. And so I've been going through, I've been trying to do at least one a year, if not a couple. And this year's one that was on my list, it was actually a couple of years ago I put it on the list, but it got switched with some other ones. But anyway, the one I am reading this year is Alaska. Now, my sister-in-law, she just moved back into town a couple months ago. No, a month ago. Anyway, she moved back into town. She was living in Alaska, and that's why I kind of moved it up the list of ones I wanted to get read. And many of you said it was really, really good. And so I am now 88 pages in, 10% or so, 10% of the book or so into the book, and really enjoying this. I'm looking forward to this. This is probably going to be a slow read over the next couple months. I'll just do a little bit here, a little bit there, and I don't know, maybe I'll get a wild hair and get it finished in the next 2 weeks, but I'm not promising that one. That's a long book, but thoroughly enjoying that. And then for Historathon 2024, and also for my TBR Elimination Challenge, where I go back and eliminate books off old TBR lists, The Washingtons, George and Martha, Joined by Friendship and Crowned by Love by Flora Washington. I'm reading that, and I'm trying to do a chapter a day on that one. So most of these books I just showed you, these last 5, my goal is to get 1 chapter every morning read in these books. And then if I do that, I should be able to get them done by the end of the month. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I am 62 pages into this one. I've got the first 6 chapters read. It's basically it's up to about the year 1770, and so they're dealing with the taxation issues and stuff like that in the right before the Revolutionary War. But I'm enjoying that. I think it's pretty good. So those are the books I'm currently reading. Now, I got 4 more to show you, and then we'll wrap this up. And I'll go quick through these. But these are books I want to get started here real soon. I want to read, and I talked about this in my previous video. Or no, it'll be tomorrow's video. Excuse me. Agatha Christie, The Tuesday Club Mysteries, and I'll probably start this one possibly later today. I'm going to sit down and read through a bunch of this. This is the next one on my Agatha Christie list that I got to get done. It was a 32, I think? 1932. Let's see. Oh, excuse me. This has it going clear back to 1928. I thought it was a 30s. Well, anyway, that's my next read. I'm going to try to knock that one out in my, taking down all our Christie's books in publishing order. Now, I have 2 of them here for the summer of sport. One fiction, one nonfiction. First one's For Love of the Game by Michael Shahara, and very pumped up about this one. I love this movie. It's a Kevin Costner movie. Absolutely love it. It's a pretty thin book. I should be able to knock it out in no time. We've talked about this one. It's just under 150 pages. We've talked about this one in our chat that we did a couple weeks back. And I just love this story. And so I'm going to knock that one out. That'll probably be an afternoon read one of these coming days. And it's about I guess I could tell you what it's about. This one, For Love of the Game, is about a pitcher who is at the end of a long career. He's had a career with one team his entire career, and he's at the point where when you hit old age, you just can't throw as hard and you're not as effective. And he's hit that point, and his team's thinking about trading him. And so he's got the choice: do I finish my career with the one team and call it, retire and call it quits, or do I go ahead and let him trade me and try to extend my career and probably get nothing much out of it? And the very last game of his career, he's throwing. So like the whole thing is based around. It's flashbacks, and I'm going on the assumption the book is just like the movie, but it's flashbacks over his career, but it's the last game. The whole book is centered around the last game he's pitching. He's got a perfect game going, which is almost impossible to do. It's very, very hard to do in baseball if you're not familiar with that. All right, and then, the other one that I'm going to do, I had a publisher contact me and ask me if I wanted to read Globetrotter, how Abe Saperstein, not sure how to say that. Saperstein Shook Up the World of Sports by Mark Jacob and Matthew Jacob. And this is a book that is coming out in October of 2024. And I said I would be delighted to read this. And so I'm going to read this and do a review on the channel for it. And then, let you know what it's all about. It's pretty obvious what it's all about, but let you know a little bit about it. And try to put this out for my other fellow Summer of Sport readers. So that's going to be a fun one, I think. And then the last one on my books to get read very, very soon list is the new John Grisham book, Camino Ghosts. And this is going to be one that I can probably read in an afternoon or two and get it knocked out. I love the Camino series, so I'm hoping the previous 2 books I absolutely loved. I'm hoping this one will be just as good as the other 2 or better. I like John Grisham, as you know, on my channel. I've read all of his works, and except this one. And I've liked most of them. Some of them might end a little too abrupt, and I think publishers getting with page counts, they're like, you need to keep your book under such and such amount of pages, and sometimes that hurts his writing. But I've noticed that in the last 15 years, he's had a few of those. But overall, I like John Grisham and his work. His work is fast paced and plenty entertaining. So I'm hoping to get going on that. So, BookTube. I am heading up to the 30-minute mark, and so I better wrap this up. Those are my Sunday reads, and I hope everyone out there, maybe you found something to read. Hope you're enjoying the videos. Been trying to be a little more regular about that. Hope you're having wonderful weather. Ours is beautiful right now, and I hope you're getting plenty of reading done. So, thank you for watching, and until next time, happy reading.